Well, I see that some of you are still true and loyal to the event, so thank you for participating. Of course, my gratitude to the Iran family. I will also mention Iran. We've had 5 years ago. We celebrated 25 years to the peace agreement with Jordan, and we held a conference in the Knesset. Oded and myself, and there were, of course, we were hosted by parliament members, and we received in the course of the conference a note that Prime Minister Netanyahu wishes to join the conference. He wants to speak. And then we said, okay, excellent. Now, maybe I'm not depicting things as precisely as they were, but I'll say more or less what he said. He said thus: there are two types of peace agreements. There are peace agreements between two democratic liberal states in which the peoples notify their leadership, we've had enough of war and conflict, make peace, we'll profit from it better. And then normally that peace is very stable as it's based on interest and public will on both sides. And then there's another type of agreement between a liberal democratic state and an authoritarian state. And their peace relies on the understanding of the autocratic country that it's preferable to be at peace with the democratic state, mainly in issues pertaining to deterrence. So if the democratic liberal state deters the autocratic state, then peace between them could be stable and long-lasting. Now, is this the situation between ourselves and Jordan? Jordan, the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan, I had the pleasure of working with them for dozens of years. In my view, strategic power is political and security power. Now, the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan is an example of that. Flourishing, manifest peace. I can't see it happening in the present conditions, but I do think that its value to the Israeli national security is embedded in the word blood or resource. Now, if it were up to me, I would give them water for free, as well as a program for handling water loss. Now, are we doing a favor here? That's such an arrogant approach. What could we have done without the Hashemite kingdom? First of all, our security border is not the Jordan River. It's between Jordan and Iraq. Now, let's take a light plane from Sde Dov, Airport Dov. Let's take off from the International 67 border, Judea and Samaria. That's already inside territory. The river should be a border, but is not. Rabat Ammon is the ideal place for developing terror, but the kingdom manages to deter terror, and the Hashemite kingdom managed to deter Iraq and other enemies. Now, officially, it's 50 kilometers between Rabat Ammon and Jerusalem. Jordan, when our relationship deteriorated, King Hussein collaborated with Saddam Hussein. Iraqi planes flew along the border, painted in Jordanian colors and photographing the Israeli nuclear reactor with the purpose of bombing it. Nowadays, we have these confidential collaborations and the power it affords Israel in defense. It was published that they even aided in our defense. I don't know if it's true or not. Prevention of terror. They say Jordan is weak. For how long more will the king survive? When King Hussein had been made king, the forecast was that he will fall within a year. He died of cancer a year after, at the age of 40 years after that, 45 years after that. We want a stable Hashemite kingdom. Now, the question is how to do that. Does Israel strategically acknowledge the importance of the peace with Jordan? We are celebrating and noting the peace process with Jordan, but is the state acknowledging that? So there's a conference here, a conference there. But the parliament, the Knesset, is not celebrating it in a ceremonious meeting. Luckily, the security system and other such independent branches maintain these ties. But there's a difference nowadays. The Iranians have identified the Jordanian weakness, and it's Iran's republic dream to break down the Jordanian kingdom as a sovereign entity. That is the specialization of Iran. The Grand Lebanon has become Hezbollah. And even the palace there is empty because the Lebanese king was not allowed to go back to his palace by Hezbollah. Iraq, Amman, Yemen, that's what they want to do in Jordan. Now, why haven't we heard about a decision to invest in the Israeli-Jordanian relations? We do many things. The Jordanian kings came to visit. He's been greeted horribly. We're doing horrible things in the Temple Mount. What motivates Mohammed bin Salman, the future king of Saudi Arabia, to be the leader of the Muslim world, first and foremost, economically protected by political treaties? Now, Jordan is a court state. That's how I've always seen it. Now, I don't want to get into names, but it reaches the most senior ranks that Jordan is something that we could compromise on. With all due respect to the Emirates, that's only business. Jordan is a core country. The Arab League, everyone is familiar with its history, and we have a military defense strategic alliance with them. Is there an alternative to that? No, there is no. Almost. I would like to stop you on 1 minute. In one of the previous panels, well, the conference up till now has been very cautious. We have the foreign ministry here. We don't want to trample them. Well, if the relationship with Jordan will be advanced, then I'm in favor. Well, that was in an analysis. There was this question that in Jordan, also, when you were responsible for the security relationship between the countries, we've seen a deterioration and wearing of the trust and of the belief that Israel is planning to end the Palestinian occupation. That was one of the foundations for the Israeli-Jordanian arrangement. And secondly, it appears that Israel aspires to collapse the PA and then collapse the Hashemite kingdom. To what extent is this a profound matter in terms of the relationship between the states? Well, in Arabic, there's a code name for the destruction of Jordan. I always open discussion with Jordan. I hereby announce on behalf of the state of Israel, and of course I was not authorized to do that, that the destruction of the Jordanian kingdom is unacceptable. Now, why did King Hussein join Saddam Hussein? He was convinced that the idea to break Jordan apart and give it to the Palestinians, or to deport the Palestinians to Jordan. And there they'll find paradise in that thriving desert. Now, Arafat, and I talked with him about that, although I thought it's best to kill him, but there's no contradiction in that in the Middle East. Because I was sent over on behalf of the prime minister, he explained to me one day that the Jordan Valley, he could have 300,000 people there. What Arafat meant, and I understood that he meant Jordan. He meant Jordan to be the home front for Palestine. Those who think that Jordan will replace the Palestinians' national aspirations, then Barbara Tuchman, if she would have been alive, could have written a book about it. What we'll have there are the ISIS and the Iranians, what the Jordanians have been preventing up until now. I think that the ties with Jordans are a miracle, and we should develop it as a national policy. And we don't have that. Now, what do we have here that we didn't have? You have Minister Smotrich, who has a vision, and he knows how to implement. He's the most efficient person in this system. He has gradually overtook the civil administration of Judea and Samaria. He's really complicated matters for the state. And I want to say just one thing. He spoke as a minister with his back on the map of Jordan, without Jordan in it. And he meant it. He said the Palestinians now have three options: either to immigrate, to obey, or to die. And now that's what he says. Now, he overtook the civil administration, which is an important branch of the state, at the hands of the commander of the Center Command, and he's the commander on behalf of the IDF. So we have a situation in which the IDF is doing an excellent work as far as deterrence goes, but we're destroying the PA. We have banks, horrible laws there. Now, why am I saying that in a conference that's dedicated to Jordan? Now, if we'll see a continued deterioration in Judea and Samaria, we'll see a deterioration in Jordan. I fear the Iranian penetration from the West. We hear about ammunition and ammunitions. Jordan has been a target for the Iranians. That is a national target for them. I don't know if the government is even discussing the need to strengthen the ties with Jordan. I can see my Druze brothers here. The Druze were in danger in the Golan Heights until Muafak Tarif. I don't want to get into excessive details. He turned to Jordan, and they, with their tribal ties, because the Bedouin tribes in Syria tended towards ISIS, and see how magically this was resolved. So there's a core strategic issue here that has to do with our physical safety. And that is why I noted the time that Saddam and King Hussein were in contact. These low points could be resumed in terms of the Jordanian hostility towards Israel. And of course, we've heard from Foreign Minister Safadi and Queen Rania. And it's not that I am not impressed by it, but it's not a major thing. And the ties that the IDF has developed with the intelligence service and military service in Jordan, they are the asset without which nothing will happen.
So, but what holds together those relationships? We heard a little bit of a positive things during this day about our work with the Jordanians, especially under the table. But on the Jordanian side, what holds it together after all those shocks, everything we do at the Temple Mount, and after all the threats that Jordan will be the Palestinian motherland in the end of it? What holds, how this peace even survives this peace as peace? Obviously, that's exactly what I want to address. You can't establish everything on the military. With all due respect, I completely support. And you need a cornerstone, you need another pillar to rely upon. And in this field, we completely failed. By the way, the Jordanian ambassador, he left. You don't know that he was here. If it would have been the policy, I saw Majali. We suddenly saw him active on the Temple Mount. Since then, he disappeared. We don't know where he vanished. And Majali family is like an aristocracy in Britain. It's one of the very stable cornerstones of the Hashemite state. So he vanished, though. But when it comes to the civil peace, there is a policy. There was an article published of Gennadius, a very experienced journalist in Washington Post 3 years ago, that told about Saudi's attempts to take over sacred places. Doesn't matter whether it's true or not. If there is such a basic statement and no one denies it in a persuasive manner, it trickles down. What actually holds together this is security connection, mostly the fact that they think that we allow their existence as well. This is, we don't really, it's not some kind of favor. I hear all the time, yeah, we do a favor, we give them water. No, this is a favor we're doing for ourselves. The only people we're actually doing a favor to is us. If I could have, again, the Ministry of Defense would have paid for all of their water, really. If they will be thirsty, they will not be there. You can't invent a patent of existing in a stable manner when you're thirsty. With so amazing technologies, everything you do here is water, including the project from the Mediterranean to the Sea of Galilee. Would have given them 20%, it would have been amazing addition to the stability. This piece is at risk, I think, and it's currently been more and more at risk, the more deterioration of Judea and Samaria. That is getting absolutely no public attention. We barely write about that in Israeli media. Gaza, another word about Judea and Samaria. So this peace will survive an annexation of the territories? No, it will not survive it. It will not survive this for sure, but it's, what does it even mean? You know, so if the military, with all the amazing capabilities that the IDF has, and we know the draft and the draft dodging law and all the resources, we always say the situation is very severe. It's not as severe as it used to be, because during the first Intifada, you had the military clashed with masses, with public, and it's horrible. It's not about, and during the second Intifada, there were suicidal bombers exploding all over the country, and they're on the way to Israel, but the military managed, together with the intelligence and the Shin Bet, to prevent it. And we hear attacked from air, targeted killing, this and that, and Tulkarm. But this is all horrible murders, of course, but the military can't really do it on their own. So if you will be seeing that, the annexation, Jordan will be undermined, and we don't have any horizon to develop relationship with Arabic countries. We're lucky. We can develop now peace connections, real peace connections. The bridge we talked about, the land bridge from India. Jordan can prosper. The situation, economic situation there is very dire, but they can prosper really. Haifa port will be exploded not with the missiles, both of the ports, the one in Shlomi, etc., the Eilat port as well. They can explode not with missiles, but with success, and there will be just a crushing under the burden of goods that will arrive, and we'll decide and we'll have peace with Saudi. Peace with the Saudis. In any assessment 10 years ago, Saudi Arabia, no one even did imagine or dare to dream that, and Mohammed bin Salman is willing. We need to obviously overpower Hamas, of course, that's true. And so IDF is doing an amazing job, but they can't complete this mission. The mission should be completed by the political rank. You need to create an alternative. After what happened on October 7th, you must introduce the Palestinian Authority, and then you will get, again, rehabilitation. 150 billion shekels, according to my non-professional opinion, and billions of maintenance of this area, all of it IDF will be doing that, occupying Lebanon as well, and Judea and Samaria. Maybe other countries I'm not even thinking about, we can also occupy them, maybe up to the Nile. Things are delusional, they are hurtful to the security of the State of Israel, and they will be definitely infringing our internal cohesiveness, not because of political aspect, but because of the burden and the load. We don't have an alternative. Look, Ben-Gurion at his time said, we need to connect to Iran and Turkey against the Arabic countries. Today, Arabic countries are willing to be in alliance with us, but not forever, not for long. It can change. Saudi Arabia in peace with Israel, Emirates, Morocco, Egypt, those countries are stable and important, but I think we're undermining our relationship with those countries. If Jordan, something will happen to it, do a horrible, horrible damage to the stability of the region in the Middle East. Jordan may become into a sinkhole, like in the Dead Sea, that sinks, that actually swallows everything around it. God forbids we'll have a religious war with them. I want to go back to an example, Palestinian example from 85. 1985 was after the first Lebanese war, February 25, 85, of course, 11th of February, if I'm not mistaken. They signed an agreement with PLO in Jordan of cooperation. There were two words that they disagreed upon, one confederation, another one federation. Seems to be, well, such a boring thing, but it's very interesting in fact. Confederation of two states, that's what Arafat wanted. In the end, he wanted to swallow Jordan. But federation meant that Amman is the capital. And Arafat said he was in a horrible point of weakness. But he said, absolutely never. And then he said, I'll kick you out. And he kicked him out from Jordan. Look at that, it's an amazing place. I had, Tunisia is a wonderful place. I had the best fish dinner there. No border with Israel, by the way. The best, but Jordan is a core country, and we're lucky that the Hashemite kingdom exists. It has to be a supreme value in national security of Israel. And in Jordan, every day you need to eradicate those words. Is it done? No. And I see other tendencies, and that's why I'm concerned. So how can we influence? With the conference, of course, with such a conference. That's our impact. So thank you, Amos Gilead.